So one thing that I'm missing sitting in the confines of home is the ADDA with my friends. And one of my favorite topic, planes. Recently one tragic accident happened in Karachi. So usually I would be giving my expert opinion with my friends, but as I cannot do that now, so this video is for that. So the flight that got crashed, it was a PIA flight PK8303, and it was from Lahore to Karachi. So there were 99 souls, 91 passengers and 8 crew members were there in the flight. 97 of them got killed. So this is the aircraft in question, the PIA aircraft, PIA A320, and this is the exact one that got crashed. APBLD was the number of the aircraft. Now let's talk about what all things we know, and we will try to make a sense of that. The first thing that we know is it was a normal flight from Lahore to Karachi, and at local time 14:30 they tried for the first landing. That was the first attempt. They tried, something happened, and they make a go around. Now that go around is also a very what should I say, important terminology that is being used in this aircraft business. So they made a go around, and after that, after 15 minutes of the first attempt of landing into the Karachi airport of the runway 25L, the plane got crashed. And before crashing, the last communication that the pilot had with the air traffic controller, the pilot said, "Sir, we have lost both the engines." And after that statement, 30 seconds, after 30 seconds of that particular statement that we have lost both the engines, he said, "Mayday, mayday, mayday," and the plane got crashed. So for any investigation, there are three things that can cause a plane to come down or crash. First is the human error. Second is the plane itself, the mechanicals. And the third, the climate, the weather. So the third, weather was perfectly fine. Let's talk about the second, the aircraft itself. So the aircraft was an Airbus A320. It was built in 2004 and was owned by this Chinese company, China Eastern Airlines, as B6017 between 2004 to 2014. From October 31st of 2014, this plane is being leased by Pakistan International Airlines. So they have fitted the engines. Most recently they have replaced the engine, but their landing gear was installed in 2014 October when the lease started for PIA, and it was due for servicing and replacement after 10 years of service. So what's gone wrong? Let me show you something. Talk about the final approach of the aircraft. So in this graph, there are two approaches defined. One, this red line, this shows any normal flight, any A320, which would be landing in the Karachi airport of runway 25L, and this blue line is the path followed by the flight in our question, PK8303. So if you see, the height is a problem, and not just the height, the speed. At this point the plane was around 250 miles per hour, but if we take a normal A320, the landing speed is in between 125 to 145 miles per hour. So if you see, in a span of 2 to 3 minutes, this particular flight has to drop its speed as well as its height from 10,000 feet to ground level, and the speed of 250 miles to 145 or 150 miles per hour in a just span of just 2 to 3 minutes. So it's not that these kind of approaches are never heard of, but it's pretty rare. And if you see, they have tried to come down very strongly, and then after that they have a go around. So as we know, the altitude and the speed were not correct. Now, once they have attempted to land in that particular runway 25L, one of the most important findings was there in the runway that I'll show you. So these are the images that I could find in the internet of the runway after the crash. So if you see carefully, there are these train marks. So these train marks are nothing but the engines of the aircraft smashing on the ground. So not just once, smashed once, little lift off, again smashed. So it smashed thrice in the whole process. And then the plane took off and they did the go around. After going around, the pilot communicating with the air traffic control, he says that we have lost both the engines. And after that, the plane crashed. So these are one of the very important findings in the investigation, which shows that the engine actually slammed on the runway and both the engine got damaged because of this. Now what does this runway information tells us? This tells us that the engines slammed the runway. And how can that be possible? That was possible if we don't have opened our wheels. The landing gears are not deployed properly, and that was one observation from the control tower that we have. The landing gear were not deployed properly. So this is the image from the viral clip that we have in the internet just before this aircraft got crashed. And there's something that is being shown by this round circle, and that is about the landing gear. And the strange thing is, the pilots have not communicated this to the air traffic controller, that they are having some issues with the landing gear. And it's very unlikely that the pilots have forgotten to deploy the landing gear, because that's one of the checklists that we do for the landings. But somehow it seems that they have forgotten, or they have not taken care of deploying the landing gear properly. So the plane is coming, they don't have the wheels deployed, the landing gear, it slammed the runway once, twice, thrice. The engine got damaged and the plane went ahead. And within a few minutes, they found out that both of their engines are not working and they crashed. So this A320 is a very, what should I say, popular plane. So like the most popular airline of India, Indigo, has its fleet full of A320s. So usually it's a very faithful plane, it's a very safe plane. Not recently that they have this new engines, A320neo, which is having a problem with their engines. These Pratt & Whitney, these are the makers of engines, and they're causing pretty much problem. So right now they have restrictions from Indian Aviation Ministry that any airplane with a Pratt & Whitney A320neo engines which has logged 3,000 or more hours, they should not fly. So I remember one incident when I was coming from Indore with my friends Aditya, Siddharth and Ankush. When I was boarding the plane, I saw that it was a A320 Neo, and that time it was pretty new. I guess first or second first was given to Go Air and the second to Indigo. So I was one of that flight, and I just heard few problematic news of these engines, and I talked to my friends, Aditya, oh man, this is A320 Neo. Yeah. So like before ending the video, I just want to show you this go around thing, and it's a very like rare, I mean not so rare but not so normal as well. So this plane, when they try to land and something happened, so ideally they have to touch down before 2/3 of the runway is available. If they have passed that, usually they go around. So if they misjudge the runway, if the wind condition is not according to the landing, if the runway is out of sight or something like that, they make a decision of go around. But that should be in a very not touching the ground. They should decide it before touching the ground. So you may have seen few clips or videos where they have actually touched the ground and then went ahead, but that is very, very rare. And here that has happened, that they have touched the ground, and that too without the landing gear, which caused the engine to damage, and this crash happened. So that's all. Thank you guys, and that's all about the ADDA today.